So welcome, Adelaide Goodeve. It's lovely to see you here this afternoon. Thank you for joining me. You have been nominated as a finalist in the healthcare category for the 2022 NLP Awards. Congratulations. So I'm very lucky. I have nothing to do with the finalists' choices, but I do get to read all the nominations. And I've got yours here. And part of the reason that you've been nominated, it says in your nomination, the Ultimate Athlete Mindset Summit is a highly proven comprehensive solution based on NLP, hypnotism, and life coaching that helps athletes cultivate and maintain the ultimate performance mindset. That sounds incredibly powerful. So do tell us a bit more about that and what that's done to, cause you to be nominated.
Certainly. So the Ultimate Athlete Mindset Summit is a community of athletes from pro to amateurs across a wide range of different sports. So I have members who are Ironman distance triathletes, so it's long distance triathlon, all the way through to kind of doing 3-day canoe races across the Yukon, to just running, doing sprint triathlon, and those who do triathlon as a hobby, but actually they want to implement that athlete mindset into their business and as well, and take that to the next level. So it's really exciting. We go through 3-step methods. So first of all, very NLP is we look at language, right? Because it's just at the center of everything, is how we talk to ourselves, the words we use, cultivate and shape the world that we live in and how we move throughout the day. And across all of my athletes, whether they're pro or amateur, beginner, everyone is using the wrong language to begin with. So the first step is looking at language and how does it impact how we feel, how we perform, and how small changes can get massive gains as well in their performance, but also in their happiness too. So once we've covered language and they're all using the best words possible, so performance enhancing words, we then look at actually how are they designing their life to be high performers. Like, does the structure that they go through, that they move through their day, does that support them in being the best athlete they can be, or their version of the ultimate athlete? So then we're looking at habits, we're looking at morning routines, evening routines, weekly routines, and again, language also comes into this as well. And for a lot of athletes, they feel that, change is hard. And this is very traditional in sports psychology, that change is hard. Your response to situations is difficult to change. It may not even change. And you can implement certain protocols. So using NLP, hypnotism, and life coaching together is kind of completely smashing through that and helping them to understand, actually, if you have the right structures in place, if you have the right language in place, you can choose to respond to a situation however you like. And it's giving them the power that's already within them, but helping them to harness that power, they have this incredible way to influence their life. And it's just ensuring that they have the structures in place to do that. And then the third method is looking at actually the competition mindset. So when they're coming up to their competition and they're racing or competing, do they have a mental game plan? Do they know what they need to focus on? Are they focusing on the right things at the right time, the influential things? And are they in the right state at the right time as well? And teaching them how they can change state and become self-aware to not only the language they're using, but the states they're in, and helping them to change it so they're always in the best state at the right time for the task at hand. Whether that is, I just had an athlete who's been Everesting, so she's been climbing the equivalent of Mount Everest in 2 days. Right. So whether you've got to be in the right state for that, especially when you're coming to day 2, you've got 12 hours more of cycling and thousands of meters to climb. Like some athletes, that's too much for them. They can't do it, because an athlete can be the best physically trained athlete on the start line, but it's the mental game that determines whether they're going to win or whether they're going to lose. In some sports, it can be hundredths of a second. Whereas in other sports, you're looking at minutes. But it's a common misconception that actually it's the physical training that will determine if you win or lose. But actually, it's often the mental game. You have to have the physical to back you up.
I was going to say, yes, but the brain doesn't have the physical side of things.
But then at the same time, I'm like, if your brain isn't functioning, your body's not going to function. Because I came into this world having had severe chronic fatigue syndrome for almost 4 years. So I also know that when your brain isn't functioning, your body isn't going to function. So to perform at your best, to get your body to be this like well-oiled machine that can get you to to like get you your personal best, or if you want to win the Olympics, you know, your brain's got to be in the right place.
Yeah. They're much more aware of that nowadays, aren't they? Sort of, you hear them talking about it with the Olympics and things like that. And it sounds like the work that you're doing is very much with those endurance type sports that kind of just fill me with awe. So triathletes and things like that is, oh my goodness, I mean, it's amazing. And that you can make a difference in that environment is really, really important. So what does it mean to you to be nominated for this award? And I'll just read you a couple of things that are in your nomination. So a couple of the testimonials that have been included. Never before have I pushed myself to such an epic level in a race. And someone else says, 1 week after starting your program, I crushed my 2,000-yard swim time trial in 29 minutes 42, shaving more than 2 seconds per lap off. I mean, that sounds incredible to me. But, you know, when you hear things like that, what does it mean to you to be nominated?
It's really exciting to be nominated. The work I do it because I want to help people achieve their best, like their ultimate version of the athlete, as I said, to help them become their very best and live their best life. So to be nominated, to be recognized for helping people do that it's really cool.
Yeah, fantastic. So here's an interesting one. What one thing in your line of work do you think is making the difference?
It's teaching people about language, 100%. Okay. It's really interesting. So bringing very much in that NLP kind of hypnosis aspect is teaching people. So for example, the athletes you've just mentioned, one of them, when we started working together, he'd just won a race, a really big race. He just won it for the 3rd time, but he felt he'd failed because he'd lost a 21-minute lead, which is a fast lead, and he just won it by 2 minutes. And so we started working together for the next season. And when he came to do that race again, it was his 11th or 10th time racing it. And he crossed the finish line, but this time he was 2nd.
Wow.
But he was like, you know what? I have never been able to push myself to the limits before of that physical breakdown when I am crawling up the steps. And he was like, that is the best race I've ever had. I knocked 5 minutes off my personal best, which is significant when you're doing. I was
gonna say that's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. For a pro athlete, it's enormous.
Yeah.
He's like, I was so satisfied with my race. And the biggest transformation that athlete had was language.
Right.
Again, the other athlete you just mentioned who got PB in swim time, that was just an hour of me talking about the importance of language. And this is how by changing your language, instead of saying like, oh, I'm so slow, I can't do this, oh, it's not going well, I feel heavy in the water, by saying instead like, I'm powerful, I'm fast, I've got this, I can do this. Suddenly they're knocking seconds off. And I see it every time I teach a masterclass, even if it's an hour, if it's a week, if they work with me for 3 months, it's always coming back to language. Like, how would you love to think about this instead? What language would you love to use instead? And you're seeing the results they're just phenomenal. They're enormous. And it's such a simple thing to start becoming aware of and to start to change, is to using that life and performance enhancing language.
Yeah. It's incredible, isn't it? Because as you say, it is such a simple thing. It's sort of, why don't people know this?
I know, it's crazy. And then you hear the pro athletes talk sometimes, you're like, oh, it's really interesting. This is the words you're using. Like, how has no one ever picked up on this? Because it can not only take your performance to a completely new level in a very short amount of time. I mean, it can take it to the next level. If I sit down with them for a 1-to-1, I've had an athlete go from not finishing top 5 in all of his swim races to then winning the swim race. And you're just like, why isn't this more known? And in traditional sports psychology, language is seen as not a very influential thing when it comes to your performance. So I find it very interesting, especially in my line of work. I'm like, it's everything. If the athlete is talking to themselves in a non-life and non-performance enhancing way, they're using negative language, they're gonna stay stuck. And it's by changing that they can start to see all of the positive evidence, all of the wins they've had, and how great they actually are. But without understanding how they're talking to themselves, they almost never see that. So it's really fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. So where would you like to see NLP, and particularly your work, in the future?
So it's been very interesting. I'm currently studying a master's in sports psychology.
Okay.
And I would like NLP and hypnosis, I would like it to be more at the forefront in performance coaching for athletes.
Yeah.
Because very traditionally, a lot of my athletes who come to me, they say like, we've been told that change is hard, that takes a long time, that actually we might not ever be able to change our response to the situation or to change our pattern.
Yeah.
And they say like, I've had athletes come to me like, I've had a problem with eating for 15 years, for 20 years. And they're like, wow, in an hour that completely changed and it's transformed. And now I don't even think about it. But in traditional sports psychology, we're taught that actually the brain, it can be quite difficult to create change. Change can take a long time. And maybe it's just about reducing the symptoms. It's not about completely transforming it.
Right.
But from my personal experience, I had the chronic fatigue syndrome and I fully recovered in 3 days.
Yeah.
So I actually was taught under Dr. Phil Parker, who's the other nominee for this category.
He is. Yes.
Yeah, his work is really great. And that's what saved me from chronic fatigue syndrome. So I understand that the brain is very plastic and we can create massive change in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
And that's what I would like to see this work kind of becoming more the norm. Is actually your brain is plastic, it changes very quickly, and you don't have to put up with these unhelpful patterns, these unhelpful responses. You can change them in a very short amount of time by rewiring your brain. And I would like athletes to not reach for new equipment to be the first thing that changes, for the first thing to increase their performance, or to be like, actually, you know what, I just need to train harder. If they were to got to a level and they're like, actually, I need help with my brain, I need to train it to get the results I want. For me, that would be the most amazing thing ever, because you can knock seconds and minutes off by just changing how you think and how your brain is wired, and get these phenomenal results that actually maybe a new bike or more aerodynamic or more training actually isn't going to get you, or even make no difference.
That's an easy habit to fall into, isn't it? It's when I just have a new bike, or I just have a bit warmer water or a bit cooler water, or there'll be something, it'll be better. And it's sort of, as you say, the transformational change is actually right there. It just sometimes needs drawing to people's attention.
Exactly. And it's interesting because with the NLP, with hypnosis, with life coaching, you do have to put the work into it. Whereas, going for the equipment, it's easy, as you said, like it's fun. Like, oh my God, definitely I want like new equipment. Whereas do you spend an hour a day training your brain? And that's where it comes. That's like the crux point, is actually how much do you want to change?
That's a really good question. I'm sure that that a lot of your athletes probably go through that actual process in terms of, well, how much do they want to change? Because that's the key, really, isn't it?
It is. And are you willing to put in that work?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank you, Adelaide. I mean, that's absolutely fascinating. It's given us a far greater insight into the work that you're doing, and I certainly understand it a lot more now. So thank you so much. Good luck with the final. It is going to be a live virtual event on the 13th of May. So we will be sending out more details near at the time. But it'd be lovely to see you there, and good luck with your nomination. So thank you, Adelaide.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful to talk with you.
And you too.